Today I effed up by really observing daylight savings time. I'm an idiot. Background: I'm living at my mom's for COVID. We live in an isolated area way north of where I used to live. This story doesn't have any real consequences, but I am reeling at my own stupidity, so I thought I'd let you guys laugh at me, too. On Saturday we talked about daylight savings time. I said, "Is it the good one or the bad one?" My mom said it's the bad one where you have to wake up earlier. I was like, okay, no biggie, I'll set my alarm an hour early. Normally I wake up at 6:30, so I set the alarm manually for 5:30. Separately, I also set my watch ahead an hour. Just absent-minded little preparations throughout the day, keeping in mind that everything is an hour behind the hour ahead of it or something like that. I don't know. I went to art school. I'm still not totally sure how it happened, but yesterday morning my alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. new time, 3:30 a.m. old. I stumbled in the dark to the kitchen, congratulating myself on being the only person in the house able to navigate the immense churning sea that is time. So now I'm 2 hours ahead of the day, but the clock in the bedroom is 1 hour ahead of old time, 3 hours ahead of me. But when I glance at it throughout the day, I'm literally too peeping stupid and tired to notice the discrepancy, so I was running around trying to keep track of everything while operating in at least 3 time zones. I'd only had about 4 hours of sleep. I was so tired I didn't notice that my watch, bedside clock, and phone all said different times. I was like, wow, I don't remember daylight savings being so difficult. It must be because we're so far north. This morning my alarm went off at 4:30 again, and as I stood in the dark kitchen trying to muster a single coherent thought, it dawned on me that I really peeped up daylight savings time. Wish me luck today as I try to master the concept of time, and align all my timekeeping devices. TL, doctor, I can't do math, so I set all my clocks to different times trying to observe daylight savings. I don't know. I went to art school. Made my day. Literally anyone who goes into any kind of art lol. Made me laugh really hard. Don't worry, all musicians are equally dumb as art majors lol. Speak for yourself. Lol, fair enough. I always joke I majored in journalism. I haven't seen a number in 6 years. 6? 6. This is one of those really nice peep-ups where you can sit there and think to yourself, well, I really peeped that up, instead of something along the lines of, well, I've peeped that up and lost my job because of it. And no one accidentally peeped their brother/sister/cousin. Accidentally. Seriously, I lived my first 2 decades not knowing my paternal family but being aware that they almost all lived in the same town or neighboring towns. So that was a serious concern when I started dating. Knew my father's first name so could avoid those siblings, but didn't know any names of his siblings, etc. Another fun story. 2 friends I met, one time hung out at the guy's place early in their friendship. As she looked at his family photos, she stopped and asked him why TF he had several photos of her dad. Yup. They were half siblings and dad had apparently cut most contact with daughter's mom and stayed around for son's mom. That could have been an accident. Sweet Home Alabama intensifies. Speaking of, I have an aunt who is both on my maternal and paternal side of the family. I can't find it now, but if it makes you feel better, there was some prince back a long time ago whose family tree was shaped like a diamond. It was too funny and I wish I could find it. Not sure if I'm honored to be compared with royalty or not, knowing how much they ignore incest in favor of keeping royalty in the family bloodline. Sorry if I offended. If I'm being honest, I think my parents are more closely related than I would like them to be. Ha ha ha, no worries, I'm humoring the offending comment. Let your cell phone take care of keeping track of DST. It should update automatically so you can focus on things like sleep rather than the beast that is time. In theory, yes, except that I, a genius, cunningly remembered that the time would be wrong and so took it upon myself to change the time on my phone. I am now free from the man-made constraints of time, living only in my unmade bed and darkened kitchen, while the world around me wonders what the feep is wrong with dickfacecat. Well, the name is concerning. For starters, my cat has a dick face. Veilp. Now we need cat tax. He only had a dick face as a kitten, but here he is in all his corporate glory. Yo, I can see how that used to look like a dick NGL. Same. Didn't disappoint. Fall back. Spring forward. This was the spring forward one. I spring floundered. Poetic play on words throughout this post has made my day. It must be because we're so far north. Oh my god. I needed that laugh today. This was my favorite, too. This post put me in a brief panic thinking I'd forgotten about putting the clocks forward. Then I realized our clocks go forward later than America. Yes, I only found out today that my time zone change is lined up with the US and not the UK, which messed up a Zoom meeting. Once as a kid, DS fell on 1st of April, and I set all the clocks an extra hour when nobody was looking. We ended up going for breakfast since we were over an hour early the next day. That is an excellent ploy. I hope Kidju was very proud. Because we're so far north. Lamau. Even better than the art school reason. I don't know. I went to art school. I went to music school. So we're in the same boat. If you're in Maine, it's 1:42 p.m. right now. Bless you, friend. A man with one clock always knows what time it is. A man with two clocks is never quite sure. And it's moments like this that proves DST needs to be done away with. When it ends, we should drop the clocks back by 30 minutes and leave them the f alone. This, I've been saying this for years. It has no use anymore, is long past outdated, and does nothing but throw everyone off for a week. DGMW. I adore many vintage/traditional practices and things, but this is not one of them. It needs to die. I'm with you both on this. At school we used to get fed some nonsense about we can't have kids walking to/ from school in the dark, and I'm like, bitch, this isn't Victorian London. We have LED streetlights everywhere, and if someone screams outside at 8 a.m. there are literally 100 witnesses twitching their curtains inside of 30 seconds. Your kid isn't going to get Jack the Ripper just because we didn't move the clocks around. Or you could just leave the clocks alone and push your entire day an hour forward or behind. A tutor used to take classes at 6:30 a.m. in summers and 7 a.m. in the winters. Worked well enough. No, that's too much work for people to do. Let's just peep over time. Ask any software dev who's worked with time in general, not just time zones. Time zones are an absolute disaster for the human mind to comprehend. Whenever DST occurs, we just sit back and wait for the new wave of bugs it causes. Your story gave me a hearty chuckle. Be sure to take a nap today. Man, this hit home. Every time there's a time change, my wife does this beautiful mind level calculation over how much sleep we get versus how much sleep we think we get and what actual time it will be after we adjust a day from now. And every time she gets it wrong, stays up too late, then oversleeps the next morning. To belabor the phrase, it's like clockwork. I believe that qualifies you as a Time Lord. Congratulations. I don't know. I went to art school, random Reddit user with a really shady username. This killed me, man. With a really shady username. Ops explanation Lamau. NGL, if I ever get a job outside Arizona, I'm telling my new employer that I don't observe DST. It's against my religion. Anyone else in the U.S. really sick of DST? Between the wake-up time annoyances and the change in time differences to other countries, it hardly seems worth it. I live in Arizona, which is apparently the only state that doesn't do DST. I'm glad we don't, 'cause it sounds stupid. And Hawaii. Get this man a dunce hat. I'm a woman, but lay it on me. I deserve it. I was so close to doing this exact same thing before my husband reminded me that my phone will just know what to do and I should calm down and stop thinking about it so much. Thank you for living the life I almost lived so I can laugh about it but not be as tired. Perfect, D. DST was meant to help the farmers. But the farmers say we work from sunrise to sunset. So DST does nothing for them. DST was meant to help the farmers. That's an urban legend. Farmers give zero peeps what the clock says. They start working as soon as it's light enough to do so, with no heed paid to what the clock says the time is. The earliest adoptions of DST was pushed for by the upper class so they'd have more daylight in the afternoons for leisure activities. Specifically in the case of two early proponents, bug collecting and golf. Funny related story. I was in junior high. I set the time for daylight savings on the one clock I use. My mom set her clock. A third clock in the house wasn't set at all. My wasted brother came home late at night and was so confused. He didn't know what the hell was going on. He knew it was daylight savings time, but he saw 3 different times. I thought today was Thursday. While driving home from the store, got all excited 'cause my shows would be on. Then it dawned on me it's only peeping Monday. As for your post, I've been there. My friend, I feel your pain. Try working third shift on time change days. That peeps you up. Laughs in Arizonian. My state has many things wrong with it, but not practicing daylight savings is not one of them. You lucky bastard. My time blindness is so bad I read the whole thing thinking it is currently fall. Beep daylight savings time. Beep IT to hell. I grew up on the border of 2 time zones, and my cell phone still switches towers from one to the other when I visit my parents. I literally Google time on a regular basis when I visit or just set my phone to not use geolocation to auto-set the time. Navigate the immense churning sea that is time. I can tell you went to art school. I say this with envy. I'm a STEM guy. I wish I can write like that. Luckily my town got dumped on yesterday and there was enough snow that everything is shut down and I get an extra day to deal with it. If it makes you feel any better, one time years ago I went to Mexico for a week. The week of DST switch. So not only was I off because I was in a different time zone because as I recall, it didn't occur to me that I was not in the same time zone from where I'd originated, and I'd changed time zones twice upon arriving to Mexico. But I was also off because Mexico doesn't observe the time change. I didn't realize until I had been there a week that I'd been off an hour or two the entire week. Lol, this could have almost been me today in a way. For whatever reason all my devices automatically were set to observe daylight saving time. For context, I live in the Caribbean. We don't observe daylight saving time nor do we observe the for the tropics lol. Anyway. I woke up, very confused about why 6:30 a.m. was still so dark, and why lunchtime seemed to come so quickly. Meetings that I had scheduled for 9:30 a.m. for some reason said they were at 10:30 a.m. I was very confused, but I eventually figured out what happened and reset everything to the appropriate time before I accidentally finished work an hour earlier. TLDR. I live in the Caribbean but almost ended up observing daylight savings time because all my devices were automatically set to do so. I enjoyed this light-hearted story. But for real we should just abandon this stupid practice of daylight savings. You know how many people do similar speep with the time change then make drastically bad mistakes like driving while sleep deprived causing accidents. I stumbled in the dark to the kitchen, congratulating myself on being the only person in the house able to navigate the immense churning sea that is time. LMFAO. I laughed so hard at this part I feel like when I was a kid it was a bigger deal. People talked about it for days. Oh, don't forget to change the clocks. But this year I didn't even realize it until yesterday morning when I noticed the oven clock was different. I think enough things change on their own. Phones, computer, car clock etc. that we don't need the reminders like we did 20 years ago. Good thing, too, because changing the time on a car radio required a PhD in quantum physics. Become a discount time traveler with this one weird trick. Horologists hate him. I love this. At your expense I laughed very hard at this harmless mistake. I literally imagine you strolling through the house looking at this clock and that clock and you thinking you have it all figured out. Oof, this made my day and I'm sorry. As someone who doesn't have to deal with daylight savings, this was a nightmarishly confusing to read. Never mind Liv. I don't blame you in the slightest. Additionally, you're a very talented writer. Thank you so much. For both things. The good one or the bad one is flopped in our house. My dog just accepted the fallback feeding schedule like a month ago. I asked my partner to feed her yesterday and she came to double check with me that it was okay to eat an hour early. If it happens again tonight and because I now work from home we're boycotting the time change for diner time. Saving time. Congratulating myself on being the only person in the house able to navigate the immense churning sea that is time is a beautiful turn of phrase that made me laugh. Lol, I'm having the hardest time reading this as I adjust to the new time. I'm just going to nod as if I understand. In any case, I feel you. If you have a smartphone, the correct time and date will always be updated. Daylight savings time included. Somewhat relevant. Me at myself. I feel your pain. Growing up in Saskatchewan and spending my winters in Arizona, I've never had to deal with daylight savings time at all. I moved to Alberta a few years ago and everybody here is falling forward and springing backward or some such thing and they have no idea whatsoever what they are doing. I know I don't anyway. I just wait a week or two and move my clocks an hour each direction randomly until they are all reading the same time. I don't think any of them are set properly from last fall and now we start all over again. What a stupid concept. I don't know why but I am literally incapable of this type of math. It's a mental block. Don't feel bad there's lots of us. Once when I was high school age, I took a nap after school. I woke up around 7:30 p.m. thinking it was 7:30 a.m. It seemed weird to me that nobody was home, but I didn't have time for that. I was running late for school and jumped in the shower. I did not figure it out until my parents came home. I'm laughing out loud. Thank you for this. Most modern technology is synced to the internet as a helpful hint, just FYI. You're a good, articulate, and funny writer. So you got that going for you, which is nice. Thank you.